You're listening to Co-Parenting with Grace, the podcast for families raising kids across two homes. I'm your host, Jody Grace, wife, bonus mom, professional peacekeeper, and your teammate in this beautiful work of co-parenting. So put that red lipstick on, Grace family, and let's get into it. Okay, welcome back to another episode of Co-Parenting with Grace. Today, we are officially in the principal's office. So, before we dive in, I just want to say for the record, everything that we talk about today is meant to speak to common situations educators often experience. Nothing we discuss will relate to any specific families or students that our guest currently works with. This is just a broad conversation meant to help us all learn and grow together. So with that, we will jump right in. Meghan, thank you so much for being here today to share your expertise and your experience with us.
Thank you for having me.
Of course, of course. So you are an elementary school principal. What a big set of shoes there. I'm telling you, you've got it all. You see it all. You deal with it all. So tell us how you came to this role. How did you decide to get into education, and what led to your wanting to be in administration?
Okay, so my love for learning started at a very young age. I had a cousin who, when I was 5, would make me play school with her and would never let me be the teacher. And so I think that's what started and continued to grow.
Absolutely.
But I was fortunate enough in the classroom to have some amazing leaders who helped me grow professionally. And I saw the impact they had on me, and I wanted to do the same for others. So that's my push to be the best leader that I can for my teachers and staff.
I love that. Well, I don't know if I've specifically said it yet, but you are our children's elementary school principal, and we have had just the most wonderful experience. We're just getting our feet wet. We've had a couple kindergarten graduates this year, so but we are so excited that it is you that we are getting to do this with. So thank you for sitting down with me today. We had a chance to sit down this summer, right after summer school wrapped, and talk about you coming on the podcast. And I have been absolutely jazzed to sit down with you after learning a little bit more about you and your backstory and what you have to offer in this space. So thank you so much. And with that, we'll just dive right in.
Okay, let's go.
Right. So I know without a doubt, what happens at home bleeds over into the classroom, the hallways, the playground. But tell me, what are some ways co-parenting dynamics show up in a school setting that parents might not even realize?
So it might show up in some different ways: duplicate phone calls, transportation changes, attendance issues, discipline. If there's an issue, one parent may be on board, the other parent may not. Who handles school responsibilities? All of those things can come into play. Vacation schedules, that's a big one. Different types of medications. Are parents involved? Are they not? So many issues can come across when there's not good co-parenting or communication between the two.
Right. You know, I learned something in our first year that I probably felt like I was digging my heels in a little bit more than I should when we first started the year. And the boy's mom wanted them to ride the bus. You know, it was a easy pickup right at the end of her street. And for us, you know, we were to drive them over there either to get on the bus or drive over there to pick them up off the bus. And I remember at the beginning of the year just thinking, I'm not doing this. I'm not driving over and sitting in front of her house and wait on my kids to get off the bus. And in that first couple of weeks, I would have to message a teacher back and forth. Nope, today I'm picking them up. Nope, today they'll ride the bus. Nope, today. And I thought, who am I doing this for? Who am I digging my heels in for? Am I just, saying, hell no, I'm not going to participate here? Or is this going to be easier for the kids? Is this going to be easier for the teachers, the school? And so I finally was like, okay, this is about me. This is not about, anyone else. And that's something that when we started the year, I didn't realize how difficult that was for the teachers, how difficult that was for, you need to know every day, do I have a bus rider or do I have somebody that's being picked up? And so a couple weeks of that, and I thought, okay, I need to give this up. This is silly. My kids are much easy. It's easier for my kids. It's easier for the teachers. They are bus riders, and I will just suck it up and I will go over there and I will park and I will pick them up every day. So that's what we did. And, I think it's just little things like that parents don't realize that you could make this easier if you just bite it,
Right.
and participate. So, I have a friend, she's been a teacher for 20 years. So she's mentioned being subpoenaed by the court in regards to a student before. Have you ever seen school staff unintentionally pulled into family disagreements? And how do you even begin to navigate that?
Unfortunately, I have, even personally within being in the classroom myself. It's very hard because you want to have a good relationship with both sets of parents.
Right.
Because our forefront, everything at the forefront is the child, their well-being, what we want from them. But it is hard.
Yeah.
You have one parent messaging you about this, and it's about the other parent, or that
Right.
parent's messaging back, and vice versa. So we really try to be very strict in this is for the child. We
Yes.
need you to figure this out, and we're not here to settle this between the two of you. We're
Right.
here to make what's best for your child.
Yeah, keep your stuff out of the classroom, please. Take care of this on your own time. I can't imagine how difficult that is to you feel pulled into the middle when, like you said, I need to have a good relationship with both parents because if this child is being raised in both homes, I need to know that I can, call on both parents to know what's happening, to make sure we're all on the same page. So I can't imagine how difficult that would be to be called into the middle of that, especially something like being subpoenaed and having to show up at court. And then you're worried, now I've got one parent that may not communicate well with me because, not everything that was out of my control.
Right.
Yeah. Well, obviously with anything, communication is key, which, like we're saying here. So what are a few small things co-parents can do to make school communication smoother for everyone involved?
So this kind of leads into some other things later, but having a consistent communication, like open lines. We use an app where we can tag all families, all the family members, step parents, guardians, and we try to make sure that we send that message to all of them at the same time. But being able to have that open communication freeway helps. We try not to pick one parent to always be the person that always communicates first, because you never know who you're going to get. If we know family dynamics where one parent works and isn't able to get to their phone to answer, then we know to call the other. It's that relationship we have with families. But having open communication, regardless, whether it's email, whether it's through the app, whether it's just a phone call, is important.
Yeah, absolutely. I know that definitely helps us being able to see that communication come in, and myself, my husband, the boy's mom, we're all included on the same one. No one's getting last minute or secondhand information. And then it helps, I'm sure, you guys, if it's something you need a response on, all three people can see it. Someone might be in a meeting, someone might have their phone put away while they're at work, and the other person has it in hand and can respond and get you what you need immediately. So I love that. I love the ability to communicate with all at one time. So hopefully parents are all on board with that to make your life a little bit easier too. So
sure. The logistics of it all, for sure.
Yes. Yeah, so many moving parts for sure. So on our last episode, we spoke with Dr. Shandy. He is a child and adolescent psychiatrist, and he spoke at length about the power of consistency across both homes when raising a child. So how does inconsistency between households affect a child's experience at school in all the ways? Academically, most importantly, but socially, emotionally, how does that affect the way you and your staff work with a child?
So inconsistency can be a lot of things. Kids could have anxiety. They could be super disruptive if they don't have regulation or consistent expectations across households, because kids thrive on routine. They do thrive on knowing what's expected. When you have conflicting rules between households, You might have a family on one side that's super supportive of the school environment, and the other side it's completely opposite. So you
Right.
don't know. The kids trying to understand and navigate
Yeah.
how they're supposed to be and what things are expected of them at school.
Yeah.
But it could show up with lack of effort, could show in disruptive behavior,
Right.
anything aggressive, anything. Just as adults,
Right.
if our routine is messed up, we can feel it.
Absolutely, we
Can you
can.
imagine being 7 or 8 years old and
Yeah.
having that as a daily
And
occurrence?
not understanding those big feelings either,
Right.
like you said, that might come out in aggression, and it's just a feeling they don't know how to process.
Mm-hmm.
But they've got that inconsistency. They've got, you know, maybe mom saying this and dad saying this, or stepmom saying this, and it's the adults are the ones that have to be on the same page. We have to be on the same page for the child because it's their experience. It is their future that's affected when we don't. So we've got to get better at that. We've got to do better. So let's talk about some common school-related conflicts. I know you touched on this a minute ago, but with co-parenting, is it discipline you see the most, attendance, medications? I'm sure it's a number of things.
It's a mixed bag depending on the
Mm,
day. Um, Something that's so simple that you would think, oh, that's an easy peasy. Permission slips. Let's say
yeah,
it's a permission slip to go on a field trip. It
yeah,
goes home with parent A. Parent B either doesn't know that it came home or expected parent A to fill it out. It it just gets lost in the mix.
for sure.
That's one big one that
Yeah,
you would think, oh gosh, that's an easy sign it, fill it out. But if you're not communicating with one another on who's filling it out and who's
right.
turning it in, that would be one.
Yeah.
Disagreements on, like I said earlier, if you have a parent who wants their child to be medicated versus a parent who doesn't want to be
Mm,
medicated, you run that as well. We go by what is prescribed and what is
right.
brought in from the parent, and
Yeah,
always go back on to our legal documentation from the courts.
for sure.
So, and that's why we ask for it. So that way we're following what that plan is.
Absolutely. What a complex layer this adds to your job. Because I know that statistics say that at least 50% of households are blended, are co-parenting situations. So not only are you guys trying to educate, you're trying to, keep these kids alive and teach them what they need to know, but now you're juggling parents and emotions and disagreements and what the court says and what the doctor says. I can't imagine. Like, what a stressful situation.
It's a lot to keep up with for sure.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I can't even imagine.
But I will say it's all about the kids.
It
It
is.
is. It's what's best for the kiddo and what's best for their well being is
Yeah,
always at the forefront.
it has to be. We talked about that again with Dr. Shandy. He talked a lot about, um, with medication, it's easier if the parents are on the same page. That's not always going to be the case. But at the end of the day, it's the parent that has the medical rights, the one that says this is what we're doing. So I can't imagine the difficulty that places on your plate to have to say, I've got to follow, what the court document says. We've got to follow what the doctor's prescription says,
Hmm.
and you've got that pushback from one parent that could, I'm sure, create some drama in your office.
I can't say that I've personally had that in my office as drama,
Thank
but there
goodness.
have been some conversations for sure.
Yeah, well, good. Hopefully, they're keeping it as peaceful as possible
Yes.
for you. So I am really thankful that, my husband and I are now on the same page as our boy's mother. That's been something that we have been very intentional about and worked at in tremendous ways, all three of us. How do you approach situations where one parent gives direction at school and the other later contradicts? I know we talked about that a little bit with the medicine, but, is there other explanations or examples where one parent says this is what needs to happen, and another parent comes in and says, nope, that's not it, we're doing this.
So again, I'm going to go back to court documents.
Mm-hmm.
We go on that. If both have legal rights, we try to encourage families to have that conversation to get on the same page. We're not the people to decide who to believe and who not to believe.
Right.
But encourage that communication between the two because the kiddo is the one that that needs that support.
Yeah.
We're not legal
Yeah.
lawyers or judges that
Right.
can make that decision. So, but we want to make it peaceful for the kiddo. So if there's
Right.
some conflicting information between the two, it would be important for them. Like,
Right.
please get on the same page. Help us
Yeah.
out. Help your kid out.
Well, because I know, that's affecting them academically. It's affecting them behaviorally. And we'll talk about that here in a bit. But tell me a little bit to piggyback off of the, I don't know, I guess it doesn't always have to be a contradicting thing, but let's talk about step parents a little bit. From a school perspective, I'm interested to hear your thoughts on the role of a step parent when it comes to involvement. For example, I'm a really hands on and sometimes the easiest one to get a hold of because of my day job. But when does a step parent typically, I know you talked about when get contacted, but tell me how you feel about step parent being involved, showing up for parent teacher conferences, showing up for IEP meetings, things like that.
It would be if it's a parent for sure. Your spouse would ask that you be there.
Mm-hmm.
We would also like for step parents to have that conversation with the other parent involved as well,
Sure.
to be on the same page. If not, if that is not an open line of communication between the two, any kind of meeting that's set up could not be as successful
Sure.
as you're wanting it to be. Like we talked about earlier, let's say a kiddo gets sick. We call parent A 1st,
Mm-hmm.
call parent B next. If we can't get in touch with them, then we go down the tree.
Yeah.
Step parents are called then as well,
Yeah.
as long as they're listed in our information system. When registration happens, we have that where you get, are they custodial? Can they pick up from school?
Right.
Can we discuss disciplinary actions with them? All of that's outlined in the system too, that goes off of court documents and
Right.
parents and what they want. But I feel like it's important that if we're all coming together to sit down in a meeting discussing the child, that everybody again is on the same page.
Yeah.
Even just listening,
Right.
and if that's a conversation that needs to happen before parent teacher conferences or an IEP meeting, that should happen before we come together.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's, something that I've always felt is important. Our children are in our home 50% of the time. And so for a teacher or, school staff to know what's going on full picture with the child, I would think having that co-parent or that step parent, on board and the support of the other parent, I'm incredibly thankful that our boy's mom is very supportive of my involvement and wants my voice to be heard as well. And but that's something that she and I've talked about at length, before we even got into the school setting. And so I just would think that would be so important for the child. How would a teacher know full picture what that child's home life is like if all parents are not involved? And if parents can't be involved, get involved. Like set your shit aside, right? So that you can be there for your kid and be there to all be on the same page. It's a team effort when raising children, especially across two homes.
Absolutely.
So
they say it takes a village.
It absolutely does.
Absolutely. It makes that village a lot easier to help when they're all on the same page.
Yes, definitely does. So your teachers, your support staff, you see and hear everything. Kids are brutally honest and they reflect their environment. So how can school staff support students who feel caught between two sets of expectations at home without taking sides?
Well, we provide consistency and routine.
Yeah.
That is a big, when kids come to school, they know what to expect.
Mm-hmm.
And that is a way kids thrive on routine. So we try to make sure it's routine. Everything that we do, from our day to day to conversations, staff are trained to talk with kiddos to de-escalate situations. So it's not that they're having a big emotion and they're just sitting in it. Like staff are trained to help de-escalate and help kiddos work through their emotions, especially at a young age when they don't know how to. But staff are trained to stay neutral and student focused.
Sure. That consistency piece when kids don't always know what they're coming home to. They at least know what they're going to get when they go to school.
Absolutely.
And that's really important. So I'm sure in your work you have seen, this when you were in the classroom, and now it ends up in your office, but trends in how children from peaceful versus conflict co-parenting homes perform at school, academically or behaviorally.
So those that come from high conflict homes where they're not on the same page, you could have a student that's completely withdrawn, quiet, stays to themselves, or you could have the complete opposite, major disruption, lack of effort, just does what they want,
Right.
which kind of coincides with anxiety and some academic struggles and not knowing, they don't have that consistency piece at home. But a lot of that goes down to trust. They lack the trust from an adult. And so, even in a school setting, that's hard to trust the adult that's there to help you through the day.
For sure. When you can't trust the people that brought you into the world, how can you trust anyone else?
Right.
Yeah. I think that's a topic all its own for sure, because I know that's something that I have a friend who's worked on that greatly in therapy. That well, I had such a chaotic home life. How would I have trusted anyone else when I couldn't trust what dad was doing today or what was happening in mom's house today? So yeah, that resonates with me. I've talked through that with a dear friend. So yeah, that consistency piece, that knowing that they can come to school and have that constant when they don't always know what they're coming home to. So what an important role you and your teachers play in these kids' lives. But I think back, and I felt like I had it pretty dang good growing up, but there are teachers that made huge impacts in my life in just being who they were for me, being that support, being that. My fourth grade teacher is somebody that I still, put on a pedestal. Mrs. Moran, if you're listening. So, you are creating, you and your teachers are just creating lasting impacts for so many of your children. I know my children for sure um, will definitely remember their years with you all for sure.
My motto for staff every day: kids first, always.
Yeah.
It, we're adults. We'll figure it out. But
Right.
these kids, they need us, and it's first, always.
Always, and they're only here for a short time. You have just a little bit of time to make that impact. So, well, you talked a little bit about communicating earlier with all parents. I love the platforms that our school uses to keep us in the loop. It's been a wonderful thing for us when the boys began kindergarten, and they first started going all day, which is a scary thing for us. So tell our listeners about some of the communication platforms and systems that your school uses to help streamline those conversations between both homes.
We use School Status Connect. It was new for us as a platform last year. A lot of schools use Class Dojo, things like that, Remind. But we use Connect, and it allows us to select parents in a conversation. So it's like a text messaging system. You can text all three parents, all four parents, whoever, and send the message out to keep everyone in the loop. And everybody gets the message at the same time. It's not, oh, I'm going to send this email to this parent, and then I'm going to send this email to this parent. We also utilize email as well, but I feel like the teachers and staff use more of the app to keep. It is, oh gosh, what's the word I want to use? It's timely.
Yeah.
And so we can see if a parent has seen it. And if they've seen it, then we know that, hey, they've laid eyes on it at least. If it's something major, of course, we're going to try to make phone calls.
Sure.
But if it's something in between the teacher and the parent of, hey, this is coming home today, please expect this in your kiddo's backpack. And we're unsure of who this kiddo goes home to that day, we select them all.
Absolutely. Well, it's not your job to keep up with,
Right.
where they're going and who do I need to reach out to. But, I can really speak to the ease of the Connect app for us. With our son, we have twin boys. Both of our sons were in kindergarten this year, but we had one who definitely struggled with transitions, as you know, and we knew that kindergarten would be a big transition. So being able to have updates from the teachers or when school needed advice on how to best handle him during a tough pivot, this was such great peace of mind for all three of us parents, and hopefully the school as well, in being able to start the year on the right foot, start this, it just opened the communication lines. And like you said, I'm not having to send an email to one parent and hope that they loop in the other parent and hopefully loop in the step parent. And so it's definitely eased our situation in transitioning from, preschool to all day school for sure.
Good.
Yeah.
That's the hope.
Yes.
And having a streamlined one way of connecting to parents and step parents and guardians.
Yeah.
It's quick. It's
Yes.
easy. On the backside of things, if a parent messages the teacher, it would be nice for them to, they are able to see if the teacher has seen it. If you're submitting an end of day change and you sent it at 8:00 in the morning, but on your end, you haven't seen that your teachers responded, then oh, I probably should call the school, because teachers are teachers and they don't always check messages throughout the day.
Hands full.
For sure, especially with littles.
Yes.
So having that open line of communication is always important.
Yes. And I really liked it for, our teachers, always told us that, hey, if a kiddo wakes up on the wrong side of the bed and we just need to know to give them a little bit more love, you just shoot us a message and say, hey, you might give, baby A or baby B a little bit more love today. He just needs it. So it's just such a more personal experience for us, for the kids. And it's like, I know that they're going to go and they're going to be taken care of and loved on just like they would at home. And having that open line of communication just reinforces that for us.
Good.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's been great for us. So, so tell us, what is one thing you wish that all parents, not just co-parents, but all parents understood about how schools prioritize a child's best interest?
The kids first, always.
Yeah.
Consistency, safety, their well-being, everything is what we take into consideration every single day.
Yeah.
Providing support, whether you're having a dispute between parents, that's not what we're there for. We're there to help your kiddo, whether it's emotionally, socially, academically. They come first.
Right. And I would think that could offer some peace of mind to a parent who, let's say, is in a high conflict situation or is at odds with their co-parent at the time. They know that you can send your kid to school and your kid's getting what they need for the day.
Absolutely.
That while you maybe as the adult in their life don't feel consistent or feel like your life might be in chaos because of the relationships in your life, at least you can send your kid to school and they are going to be put first. So parents should be able to rest assured in that and know that you're just an extension of the team. You are a support system as well for the parent. So, take heed in that.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, we're going to segue a bit into some more personal talk for a minute. So you are a mom, a biological mom, who has co-parented for what, 17 years?
17 years.
17 years. So share with us what you will about your co-parenting situation.
Okay, so I have a 19 and a 17-year-old. Again, have co-parented with this parent for 17 years. It is not an ideal situation. We'll just say it's not an ideal situation. It's not been so fruitful in any kind of trials and communication, things like that.
Right.
I also have a 10-year-old kiddo, and his dad and I are on year 3 of co-parenting, and I will tell you that is a completely opposite. He and I communicate regularly, FaceTiming each other with with our kiddo.
Yeah.
Even he offered for me to attend their vacation this summer together to out of the country.
That's
Just
opposite end of the spectrum from what you're used to.
For sure. So I get the both ends of the spectrum with co-parenting.
Yeah.
And if I could say, I will say parent B, since it's the second, like I would 100% jump on board with that any day.
Right.
And just learning when we were married and he would see the conflicts and things from parent A, that has been something that has helped the both of us.
Oh, I'm sure.
Put any kind of things aside and put our kid first.
Yeah.
He's the most important person that we want to make sure he's taken care of. And the only way we can do that is if we're on the same page.
Yeah, absolutely. And co-parent B got to see firsthand what that looks like to not get along, what that looks like, and what it does to your children, I'm sure.
Absolutely. And I will say it's not just the children. I mean, you wear a lot of emotional baggage as the parent having to go through those situations.
For sure.
And so seeing that side for just myself and with the kids, not having consistency between households is for sure. It's definitely a weight.
Yeah, it makes a huge impact. I'm sure of it. So you, like I said, you experience both ends of the spectrum, high conflict and peaceful co-parenting. What is the one key difference that stands out emotionally or practically for you?
Something about second guessing things. You know, you always try to put what you feel is important for your child. Their well-being is number one. But when you make a decision, it's that constant second guessing. Is that the right decision?
Yeah.
What's going to be the ramifications of that on their end? Not just for myself as an adult, but what about my kids? Well, how is this going to impact them?
Yeah.
And so having that high conflict area or any kind of tension or anything like that, it always in the back of my mind, how is that going to affect my kids?
Yeah. What's the backlash look like
Right.
for them, for me? And yeah, how do we carry this moving forward? What more is this going to bleed into?
Right.
Yeah. That's a stressful situation. And when you're trying to parent, you're trying to be your best self for your kids, and you are constantly met with gosh, I don't even know what the word I'm looking for is. You're met with resistance and pushback. Like you said, that weighs on you emotionally, which would be near impossible to not let that affect the way that you parent and the way that you handle your children.
Absolutely. Yeah. It is very difficult, especially like when you have younger kiddos, you want to shelter them from any kind of adult conversations. Now that I have two older children, the conversations that are being had, I still don't have those adult conversations. Like, this is not something we need to be discussing. Those words come out of my mouth quite a bit.
Yeah.
But the information that comes out of theirs are definitely adult conversations that
that you're like, they shouldn't even be hearing this stuff.
Right.
They shouldn't be carrying this weight.
Right. Your children.
Yeah.
I mean, one is 19, but still.
But you're still my child. Absolutely.
For sure.
Yeah. And that's heavy. That carries big impact. And that gives, I hope our listeners really think about that in the way that they are handling themselves in their co-parenting situations. Not just how it's affecting your 5-year-old, your 6-year-old, your 7-year-old, but how it's affecting your 17-year-old, your 18-year-old, and how the example that you're setting, because again, statistics show that they are likely to end up in their own co-parenting situation one day. And that's the example they're seeing. And what's so hard is that you can only control what you can control. And that has to be enough. It has to be enough. And I believe that it is. I believe that it is. As kids get that, they know right from wrong. We learn that from a very early age. And even though we love our parents, it's easy when you are 17, 18, 19 to look and learn and see, what the heck? what the heck is dad doing? What the heck is mom doing? You know, whoever the one who carries the most conflict is. Um, so yeah, that's definitely something for people to think about. What you are doing, what you are saying, not just when they're young, but when they're young adults. It matters.
Mm-hmm.
It matters.
Absolutely. And I think it matters more because they're whatever they've heard from years before to now, they're understanding and putting that information together in a real world sense.
Yeah.
That shapes them as an adult.
It does. Well, and they're of the age that they can decide if they even want to carry that toxicity into their own adult life.
Right.
They can say, yeah, hey, I don't need to have a relationship with you if this is what it looks like. I've seen what it looks like for the last, 20 years with mom. I don't have to do that, and I know I have a sister-in-law that, drew that line and said, I don't have to expose my children to this, your grandchildren. I don't have to carry this into, my adult life. And so, hopefully parents can figure it out before your kids are having to draw a line in the sand.
Mm-hmm.
Well, no doubt, like we've talked about, you've had lessons in both co-parenting relationships. What has each situation taught you about your own needs, Megan's needs, and boundaries as a parent and as a person?
Clear communication. And it kind of goes back to what we talked about earlier, but having clear communication, nothing that's emotionally driven.
Yeah.
For sure. Like, these are the
hard.
facts. These are the facts. This is what I would like to have done, or whatever the conversation is. And then holding firm to my own boundaries. That I will say that just to keep the peace, sometimes I would bend and sway, and having done that and knowing that that wasn't given in return.
Yeah.
It's important. You hold your boundaries, what you believe to be important. You hold firm to that.
Yeah.
And consistency, like we said, kids thrive on routine.
Do.
They do. And so if you change what your routine is, or you change your boundaries constantly, then they know that that's not going to be something that's going to be firm and held.
Right.
And it can change at any given notice. Something I tend to tell my kids all the time are, I'm the same mom that I've always been, and I'm not going to change that.
Right.
These are my expectations for you. Yeah. Even though you're still young adults, I still have the same expectations.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what a wonderful feeling. Like you said, kids thrive on consistency. They thrive on discipline. And your kids have known that from day one, and you are still that mom at 19. And that's home. That's comfortable. That's safety. And your kids will continue to come back to you because of that.
Gosh, I hope so.
They will. I know it. I know they will. Well, I know that someone is listening right now and is in your situation, or if they're not yet, again, statistics say that some of them will be. So if you could give one word of encouragement to someone in a high conflict dynamic, what would it be?
You don't have to fix the relationship. It's
good.
not just on you to fix. It's a two-way street for sure. Yeah. And that you can't bear the weight on your own. It's been 17 years.
Yeah.
And that's something myself I have had to come to terms with. I can't fix that relationship, but what I can do is provide emotional stability, consistency, effort, trust, respect, responsibility. I can still do all of those things for my kids, even if it's coming from just one home.
Right. Absolutely. And that, like you say, kids thrive on that, and they know that they can come to you, and that's what they're going to get every time. Well, that's great advice. That's really great advice, because it is not on one person to fix it. And you do not have to spend your entire life trying to fix it. At some point, you have to say, this is not my responsibility. This is not, your feelings are not mine. They are not mine to carry. This is not my weight. I'm setting this down. And I think that that's an example for your kids as well. Like, mom doesn't constantly have to break her back to, like you said, sway or give, or, just to keep the peace. I can say, nope, This is my boundary. That's not the way that I do things. You're welcome to do things your way. This is the way we do them in my home. And this is the way I will, the expectations I will set for my children in my home. And they'll know it. And I think that that's noble.
And I know we talked about having an open line of communication earlier and having parents on the same page.
Yeah.
But sometimes that's just not.
Yeah. Not feasible.
I wish.
Right.
I wish.
Well, in a perfect world,
And I get to have that with my youngest kiddo's dad.
Right.
Like we are there.
Yeah.
We have those conversations. My kiddo just came back from vacation and was like, "We're going back in 2 years, and you have to go.
Oh, how wonderful!
You have to go next time." So I didn't go this summer, but he was very adamant, and his dad was like, "You have to go next time. We've got to make this work for him." So I love that. It's important.
Yeah, and gosh, I love that for you that you're getting to see the other side of this. That you are getting to see that it doesn't have to be the way that it was or has been for 17 years.
Right.
We can choose for it to be different, but both parties have to be willing to set their ego aside and make that change for the children.
Absolutely.
Not asking you to do it for me. I'm not asking you to do it for yourself. I'm asking you to do it for the kids because the kids didn't ask to be in this situation.
Right.
So why make them pay for it?
And they're the ones that get the benefits from it.
Yeah.
Right?
Absolutely.
They're the ones that feel all of that supported, emotionally stable from both sides.
Absolutely. And you as a parent, as a human being, to get that toxicity out of your body is only going to be better for you. When you're carrying around the anger and the frustration and the dissonance like that, you're holding poison in your body when you are just digging in your heels and saying, I'm out of spite, I'm going to be an ass. You know, like who are you hurting at that point? Aside from your kids, you're hurting yourself. You know, it's silly to think about, but we adults are, man, we're stubborn.
We are.
We are beings. Well, there is nothing fortunate about experiencing high conflict co-parenting, but being that your second co-parenting situation is somewhat a product of what you've learned that you won't tolerate any longer, what habits or values do you and your second co-parent share that help things run more smoothly?
Well, like I said, open communication for sure.
Most important.
We are a team. Yeah. We view every decision about our kiddo as a team. It's not just on one person, and we will throw out ideas. Like I want my kiddo to have allergy testing, and he does not. Yeah. And I'm like, but we really need to know for sure, like what this allergy he has, because it's a rare one so far. And I'm like, I want to make sure that we're not feeding him other things that he's not supposed to have. And so just having the conversation, what if he goes to a friend's house and he has an allergic reaction because he ate something that we didn't know? Right. You know, things like that. And so it's just an open line of communication for sure.
Yeah. And how nice to be able to disagree and it not be a fight.
Right.
Him to be able to say, no, I don't want him to have that. And you to say, well, I do. And it not end in some blow up. Now we're not speaking. Right. You know? Gosh, what a breath of fresh air for you.
A lot of, let's say, kids do silly things and they get themselves in trouble. And any kind of discipline or consequence that I give at my house is super supported at his. Yeah. So if I say, hey, this is what kiddo did, this is the consequence I've given at my house. And I kind of go through all the things and, okay, we'll do that at mine. Right. You just let me know when we don't, you know, and call me next, you know, if this happens again, call me. I want to have a conversation. And we've done that several times. Right. So just having that consistency between the houses, because I know when he goes to dad's house that he's having that conversation with him. It's important. And dad is
backing you up.
Yes. Yeah. And I think that helps him know that we're both on the same page. Absolutely. We both want what's best for him. These are consistencies between the two homes. Right. And that he's not going to get away with it from one house to another.
And they'll try.
Know? Absolutely.
They're smart.
Absolutely.
They're little manipulators and they try what they can. I know we had a conversation just this morning. The boy's mom and I took them. We had to go to a doctor's appointment yesterday. We rode together. And it was one of the first time, I think it was the first time that the boys were in the car with her and I together. It's the first time that we've all gone in one car. And wow, the boys, I mean, we both looked at each other like, is this how they behave with you? Like, what is going on here? They were both like peacocking or something, trying to get attention and see who are they going to yell at us for this? Are we allowed to punch each other and get away with it? And, she would turn around and get onto him. And then I finally turned around and I said, hey, you're coming home with me today and you're going to have a consequence if this doesn't stop. And we came home and we had a consequence because it didn't stop. And Dad had a conversation with him and he said, you know better. You know better than to do this. You don't speak to your mother that way. You don't speak to Jody that way. And that is not the way that we do things. And I thought it's so important for my kids to hear him say that. So important for them to hear him say, you don't speak to Mom that way. You don't speak to Jody that way.
Absolutely.
That, we're a team, and there's nothing you're going to try here that you're going to get away with. We're all talking.
Absolutely.
So that consistency, and I know we're beating a dead horse, but communication. It's all about communication. So if you don't know how to communicate, get with a therapist. You have to learn how to communicate. And honestly, some adults don't know how to. Because they were brought up in these same situations by parents who didn't know how to. But that's only an excuse for so long. You are now an adult and you have the ability to say, okay, I'm not going to repeat this pattern. I'm going to do something different than my parents did, than the way I was brought up. Or you can just keep the generational trauma going and expect that your kids are then going to grow up and not know how to communicate.
Right.
You're setting them up for failure if you do not look inside and work on yourself. But you got to be able to set your ego aside.
I was getting ready to say the same thing. That ego's got to get, it's got to get out.
It's
for
got
sure.
to.
Yeah.
But until you can think outside of yourself and think about your children first, that's not going to happen. So I have a 2-part question here for you. Like mine and your children alike, you also grew up across 2 homes. So first, how do you think being a child of divorce prepared or shaped you to be the kind of parent that you are today?
I think it made me hyper aware of the ripple effect of emotions and
I'm sure.
inconsistency. And again, like you said, kids are manipulative. Like you learn what you can get away with one parent and not with the other.
That's right.
So absolutely hyper aware of this is what needs to happen and try to be consistent for sure.
Yeah. And just like we talked about, you learn what you can get away with, you learn what you can't, and you can either do something different as a parent than what you were raised in, or you can just keep doing the same stuff.
Right.
We know it doesn't work, right? So I guess second part of that question is, how do you think that growing up across 2 homes equipped you to be the co-parent that you are? Or not, or are not?
Well, it makes me want to have calm. Calm consistency. I have tried my best to make sure that it's been calm between the families, whether it's parent A, parent B. That emotional stability and that safety for kids is important. So being able to see the ripple effect back when I was younger between my older brother and I and my parents, and then kind of viewing my own kids and how that looks, just making sure that I'm trying to keep the peace, even if that means I have to be quiet sometimes.
Right. Oh, that's hard.
It is very hard.
I'm not good at being quiet.
It is very hard.
It takes practice and being intentional for sure.
But I still say I'm still the mom.
That's right.
That you've always had.
Yeah.
So it's important. Like, again, setting those boundaries and setting that example is important because you're shaping them to be parents.
Yes.
In their future.
Right. And you're that constant in their life. And that's what's going to drive the bus for what they do as a parent.
Absolutely.
Well, I think that's such wise advice there that you give. In hindsight, we see things so much more clearly, especially when you look at it through an adult's eyes and life experiences. So are there things you wish the adults around you had done differently when you were growing up?
Not having adult conversations around kids.
Yeah.
Like,
absolutely.
limiting any kind of emotional conversations. Your mom did this, or
Oh,
your
yeah,
dad did this. Those conversations where you just don't think kids are paying attention when they really are, and it sticks with them.
for sure.
Um, and it's not my responsibility as a child to help my parent through their emotional instability.
No,
Um,
that's how you end up with parentified children.
absolutely. And
And
so I think that's something I wish, as
yeah,
as a child from divorced family,
hmm,
I wish they knew those things.
right,
We hang on to those conversations that you don't think we hear.
right.
You might just be speaking to someone else and we're in another room, but what you said about mom sticks with me, or what you said about
Yes,
dad sticks with me for
because
eternity.
they're my parents. That's
Right.
my parent. I didn't choose. You chose,
Right.
but they are mine.
Mm-hmm.
And it's such a disrespectful thing to, speak negatively about one or the other parent in front of the child.
Absolutely.
And like we said, I think I've mentioned being a parentified child in every episode so far, but that's what this does. When the adults in kids' lives can't control their own emotions, you put those on your children and then they carry them.
Mm-hmm.
They're forced to grow up quicker than they need to. They're forced to understand things that they shouldn't even know about. They are forced, like you say, to hear conversations that shouldn't even be happening around them. And because of those things, man, they learn about things that they don't even need to be worrying about.
Mm-hmm.
And we've got to do better on that. So, a couple more things and then we will wrap up. But do you ever find, and I mean, this is a no brainer, that your professional, I already have weigh in on this one. I keep cutting myself off here. But do you ever find that your professional role gives you extra tools for navigating your personal parenting challenges or vice versa?
Absolutely. I mean, empathy for sure.
Yeah.
A big word. We ask kids to
Mm-hmm.
understand what empathy is at a young age, but even as an adult, whether it's my role as a principal or my role as a parent, having empathy of, seeing what's going on and trying to understand. So, absolutely, I feel like my outside of
Mm-hmm.
my office experiences have helped me help other staff members and students through some difficult situations.
Right.
Even when I was in the classroom, just knowing how I felt as a kid.
Right.
One thing I would tell students when I taught upper grades before they would enter my classroom is you're going to leave this baggage here
Mm-hmm.
in my classroom. You're safe.
Yeah.
I'm going to make sure you're taken care of today. I know that something happened last night, whether it was a parent that reached out to me and told me that something
Mm-hmm.
happened, or I could just see it on their face.
Right.
You are safe here.
Yeah.
That's going to be there at the end of the day. Let's not worry about that. Let's worry about you
Yeah.
and have that conversation. So that big empathy piece is important.
How wonderful. How wonderful to reiterate that safety for a child because, co-parenting situations and kids being raised across two different homes run the gamut. They can be as peaceful as can be. They can be incredibly high conflict, incredibly um, scary, I'm certain, for some kids. So to know that they can show up at school and be safe, that's huge.
Mm-hmm.
Safety is a big thing for me. Oh, growing up, that was always a big thing for me. And even in my marriage, I remember my husband and I started dating. We were talking about, what are your makes and breaks? What are your things that are important or high value? And for me, that was feeling safe above all, was the most important. So
Mm-hmm.
for our children, they have to feel that.
Mm-hmm.
We owe that to them.
Absolutely.
They didn't, like I say, they did not ask to be here. They did not ask to be in this dynamic, this high conflict situation. So as the adults in their lives, you owe it to them to say you are safe. But if they're not getting that at home, what an incredible thing that you offer as an educator to say, you've walked in this door, that door closed behind whatever happens outside of here is behind you. Here you are safe.
Mm-hmm.
Wonderful.
Absolutely.
Wonderful. Well, I know I talk about how you're professional. I just said I wanted to comment on this. You're professional has carried into your parenting. And I can see that from what you have talked about in remaining calm and remaining unemotional in the way that you respond. Because man, that was something I really struggled with in the early years of my co-parenting situation, is being able to check my emotions and not respond from an emotional place. That is so difficult. And I would imagine for most people, that's incredibly difficult. And that's something that your profession has definitely given you a leg up on. You are constantly dealing with, how many, I don't even know how many kids and staff you have, but you have to remain, the steady, the constant, the level that holds everything together.
Absolutely.
And you can't be emotional.
There's over 300 people in our building on any given day.
And they're all looking at you.
And they're all looking at me. A conversation I have with kids all the time is safety's number one for me. And I have that conversation. And their job is to help keep it safe too.
Yeah.
And I always say, I'm one person. There's 300 plus other people in this building.
Yeah.
Can I keep everyone safe at the same time? Absolutely. Because I have you, because I trust you.
Yeah.
And giving that piece out of safety is important.
Yeah. And a kid seeing that confidence is, that's just going to reiterate that confidence in them that they are safe with you.
Absolutely.
They know they can come to you. They know they can trust you. And that's having that, like we've said, if they can't have that at home, knowing they can have that with you and your staff is incredible. What a gift you're giving them. Well, let's put we've had the focus on the kids for a minute. What is something that you wish every blended family knew about what kids need from their adults? I think we've kind of hit on this. Communication,
emotionally stable.
Yeah.
When it's consistent, the expectations are there. The communication is there. Kids are more likely to thrive.
Right. And you can see it on their faces. You can see it in the way they come in and carry themselves during the day, when they show up in the morning. When the adults are communicating and getting along, man, that's a ripple effect. That trickles all the way down. So, well, tell me, what gives you hope about the future of blended and two-home families?
There are many more resources out there to help parents co-parent better. Even in a divorce, they have you go through a class, even if it's online, you have to take this class, at least here in our state. But there's a growing awareness now. I feel like there's more resources. There's therapy, counselors out there that are more helpful. There are books to read. Not saying that everybody learns from reading books, but there's more out there than I feel like when my parents were going through it.
For sure.
Had they had more guidance, I think things would have been a little bit different.
Right.
Growing up in that household. But I think because there are so many resources and people out there, that's what gives me hope.
Yeah.
That it's being more supported.
Yes. That's why you and I are sitting down today.
Yeah.
That's why I was so, felt so pulled to do this, is to be a resource, to open a conversation. These are things that people are feeling, people are thinking, people are dealing with every single day, but it doesn't feel safe to talk about it. It doesn't feel safe to, to say, I'm in a high conflict situation and I don't know how the heck to manage this. Am I alone in this? That's most important, I think, is for us to know that this is a community of people. And there's a lot more of us involved in co-parenting blended home situations than ever before. You talked about when your parents were doing it. My mom came from a divorced home, and that was 1960, So it was taboo when they were young. It was, and then it's just become more increasingly, increasingly more acceptable and open, people being open to learning and knowing that there's no shame in this. There's no shame in what we're doing. There's only hope. There's only love. And with more people involved, there should be more love, right?
Absolutely.
There's more love to go around when you've got 3 parents, 4 parents versus 2, you know? And that's the way that it should be. So Well, Megan, thank you so much for
Hey.
sitting down with me today.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. What a joy it's been to hear your shared experience, your professional advice, your expertise. You have reminded us that the principal's office isn't always a scary place. And honestly, I would wager it's a much friendlier place these days, especially as the narrative shifts around mental health and what it really takes for a child to thrive. Our kids aren't meant to just be seen and not heard. They deserve to be understood, supported, and given the best chance at success. And that takes all of us: parents, educators, co-parents, step-parents, grandparents, guardians, showing up in whatever role we hold. So to you, the listener, I hope today leaves you a little more encouraged and a little less alone. Keep doing the hard work, even when it feels thankless. You are showing up, and that makes a difference, one that will pay dividends. And just remember, you are doing better than you think. Happy trails, my friends, until we meet again. I'm your host, Jody Grace, and this is Co-Parenting with Grace.